right, so I hope it doesn't pick up the music that people are blasting down the hall. Not much I can do about that. I really could, but well, it's Teddy Bear Toss weekend. I'm trying to keep myself from getting too pumped, especially after what happened last week, and I'm not going to talk about that because that I'll start shouting about. I It was hard to keep restrained on our podcast this week over at Student Line Hockey Report, but well, we have Stonehill. Now, Stonehill is winless in their season. They're a D1 team that's currently in purgatory in D1, but don't underestimate them because they took a good good um, ranked, I should say, ASU team to overtime in the first game and a 1 point loss in the second game, and almost won both of those games. So when they're on, they're no joke. And I was talking with a fellow season ticket holder, and they said the same thing. They said this team is winless, but he's the reason I found out to begin with because I hadn't looked recently. At Stonehill, I looked before the season, but I haven't looked during that they did that to ASU. I said that's a little weird, you know. So we'll see. Those games were probably their. It looks like in terms of score, their best played games of the season. If they play like that, then the U might be in trouble. But it all depends because the team lost a game that the refs screwed them in against Elmira. So there's the fuel. There's the potential to have fuel there from the team. Um, I guarantee you, Gary had a moment, but that's just because, you know, it would be the Gary thing to do is have a moment after that and work them. But and I always say that as speculation, but like they are 0-14, average 1.5 goals a game, and got smacked by Providence, and then Long Island, where former Utica University player Remy Parker is currently, where he landed after transferring after last season. They lost in a 2-0. They lost 2-0 and then 4-1 to Bentley. 7-2 against Brown. And I down scroll and I overskip a game. 4-2 to Long Island in their second meeting of the season. Like I said, 5-4 in overtime, and then 3-2 in the second game against a ranked Arizona State team. 3-1 and then 8-1 against University of Alaska Fairbanks, where former player Connor Fedoruk of the formerly of Utica University played. Anna Marie College, to which they lost 4-2. Union, which they had a 2-game stretch against and lost 5-2 and then 4-0. So they're getting hit hard by some good teams. They got close with a good team, but then they have some games where they kind of show up. So, I mean, you look at a D1 team, if you're D3, you never underestimate them. They play a different game at a different speed and a different style. They just do. They struggled against a St. John's team who kind of plays at a different speed. So, I mean, we'll see how Utica plays. We'll see what the lineups are. Speaking of, I'm going to check that now. Because as I think I said on the show that it partially depends on lines because Gary has been doing a lot of movement of lines. I mean, you've had some stability, but once Vladdy actually hit the ice because he was out the first 2 games for something, I don't know. I don't know why he wasn't playing, but then he finally got time, and look at what happened. I mean, ever since then, there was already a decent amount of forwards, but then it's another forward competing. The defense is different because you only have 7, so you can only rotate so much and have different guys in so much. There's not really much you can change, and the Lions have been a little more stable than the forwards. But you have kind of seen stability with guys like Vitale and Morse playing on the same line. So there's that, and the lines are out. So, as expected, your first line will be Vitale, Brill, Morse, or Moose as I usually call him at the rink. Hughes, Carroll, Wood, that's a line we've kind of seen before. They're rolling 5 lines and an extra forward. And 4 D lines. I didn't know we had that many. didn't know we had that many defensemen. I want to say forwards. And then you have Murph, Spags, Acosta, which I'm pretty sure we've seen that line before. Vladdy, ADR, Herrera, who we've definitely seen before. That's a line I like because of the kind of play you get from it. And then you have Gooley, Lundberg, Javier as your last full forward line, and John Gutt as your 16th forward. On D, you have Scovey and Kimball, a line I like. It brings experience. D'Orazio Barr is your second pairing. That's one we've also seen before. Brighton and Perrick, another one we've seen before. And Evidimov Oliver. I don't think we've seen that before. No, I don't think we have. I don't think that's a line we've seen before. From memory, I could be wrong. And your starting goaltender will be Ethan Roberts. I love watching Rob play. He's a great goalie. We'll see how he holds up tonight. This is another big test for him. He's had a couple big tests, and he's proven himself a good amount. Tonight's another one of those provens. I can't speak English. Proving games. So, I mean, we'll see how they do. I have no expectations for this because it depends on what Utica you get and what Stonehill you get. Are you going to get the Stonehill that took Arizona State to overtime? Or are you going to get the Stonehill that got beat heavily by the likes of Long Island, Northeastern, and Alaska Fairbanks? Are you going to get that team? I don't know. And are you going to get a Utica team that's not throwing those cross-ice, sloppy play, barely any chemistry, which there's a reason for that, and that's because line shifts so much. But at least a bit of the sloppiness and the chemistry problem is lines. But you look at it, it all depends. They can't underestimate on record, which is kind of what I think they did against St. John's, because that was a little bit of a sloppy game too. Elmira, they looked a little more buttoned up, but obviously that goal, you heard the buzzer, and then it went in. The ref still counted it. That led to an altercation after the whistle between as the second intermission starts, before the third period, and then you go on the penalty kill. Immediately, Elmira scores. Team gets deflated. Team's out of it. They're a young team. I expected that if they got scored on there, and that's a spiral that if the ref doesn't call that goal a good goal, and none of us think it's a goal. We've been trying to look at it objectively, like we've been trying to look at it from a neutral perspective, and I sit with a ref, so he can probably do that better than I can. And even he said he's looked at it. It's not. And when the ref himself, someone who refs that's in our section that does games all the time, is yelling at refs, it's not good. And he doesn't like to yell at refs anymore. He doesn't. And it's a little saddening, but I get it. So, it was a bad game. I hope it's better. And just noting, Donovan Ott did get the second Oswego State game last tournament. I haven't gotten really a chance to note that on the podcast that Otter was reffing. Congrats. It's nice to see a former Utica U guy reffing, especially in college. I mean, it's kind of cool. But anyways, you know who I am. The music finally stopped. Anyways, hopefully there was no background noise. There probably was. There usually is. I tried to make it not be. And hopefully, I have a feeling this is going to be another down-to-the-wire game. I really do. I have a feeling. If anyone's there, it is sold out. Come down to Section 103. Come hang out. Scotty will be there somewhere, my podcast partner for the CNY Hockey Report. If anyone watches, go find him too. He'll be there somewhere. I run into him every time he's there. So, well, pretty much every time. So, if you're there, come say hi. You know, I need more people to yell. And I'll see you later.